The sun was setting over the small coastal town of Heijin, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Waves gently lapped at the shore as fishermen prepared to dock their boats for the evening. Among them was Hyung-soo, a man in his early 30s with weathered hands and a quiet demeanor. He had spent most of his life on the sea, finding peace in its vastness and unpredictability. But tonight, something felt different. There was an unusual stillness in the air, a heaviness that made even the waves seem hesitant. Hyung-soo stood at the edge of his boat, staring out toward the horizon. The water shimmered faintly, almost too dim to notice, but it caught his attention. It wasn't moonlight or sunlight causing the glow, it pulsed rhythmically, like a heartbeat beneath the surface. He frowned, leaning closer to examine it. Whatever it was, it didn't belong there. Back on land, Ji-eun sat hunched over her desk inside the nearby observatory. Her eyes were glued to the screen, displaying data from the past few weeks. Strange signals had been coming from deep space patterns unlike anything she'd ever seen before. At first, she thought they might be natural phenomena, some kind of cosmic anomaly, but now, the evidence pointed to something far more unsettling. Intelligent design. Someone or something was trying to communicate. Ji-eun sighed, rubbing her temples. She had reported her findings to the authorities days ago, but no one seemed to take her seriously. It's probably just another false alarm, they said. Yet, here she was, staring at proof that couldn't be ignored. The signals grew stronger every day, almost as if whatever sent them was getting closer. Meanwhile, Commander Tae-jin paced nervously inside the local military base. News of the strange signals had reached him too, though he tried not to show concern. His job was to protect Heijin, a sleepy little town where nothing exciting ever happened. Still, orders had come down from higher-ups. Stay alert. Prepare for the worst. He didn't know what to expect, but he trusted his instincts enough to know trouble was brewing. And then it happened. Across the globe, people stopped what they were doing as lights filled the skies. Massive ships descended into Earth's orbit, their sleek metallic surfaces gleaming ominously. They hovered silently above cities, casting long shadows below. In Heijin, residents gathered outside, pointing upward in awe and fear. Children cried, dogs barked, and phones buzzed incessantly as videos flooded social media. Hyung-soo watched from his boat, frozen in place. The hum he'd noticed earlier grew louder, resonating through the hull of his vessel. He instinctively grabbed onto the railing, feeling the vibrations ripple through his body. Then, without warning, glowing portals opened in the sky, spilling out thousands upon thousands of alien soldiers. They moved with precision, surrounding the town in a matter of minutes. Panic erupted instantly. People screamed and ran in all directions, unsure whether to flee or hide. Cars screeched down narrow streets, horns blaring as drivers tried to escape the chaos. Hyung-soo hesitated, torn between curiosity and self-preservation. Finally, he decided to head back to shore. Whatever this was, he needed answers, and staying out at sea wouldn't help. At the observatory, Ji-eun frantically typed commands into her computer, attempting to analyze the ship's energy signatures. Her heart raced as she realized they weren't just observing, they were scanning. Every building, every person, every inch of the planet was being cataloged. She swallowed hard, realizing humanity might already be doomed. Commander Tae-jin sprang into action, barking orders to his troops. Civilians needed to evacuate immediately. Barricades went up around key locations, and armed soldiers took positions along the main roads. Despite his best efforts, however, the situation felt hopeless. These aliens were clearly advanced beyond anything Earth could muster. Their weapons glowed menacingly, ready to unleash destruction at any moment. For hours, the invaders did nothing. They simply stood there, watching. No attacks, no demands, no communication, just silence. It was maddening. Tension mounted as people wondered when or if the other shoe would drop. Some prayed for divine intervention. Others resigned themselves to fate. That night, Hyung-soo returned to his modest home near the docks. Sleep eluded him as he replayed the day's events in his mind. Something about those glowing portals haunted him, not just their appearance, but the way they seemed connected to the ocean. He remembered the pulsing light beneath the waves and resolved to investigate further at dawn. Little did he know, Ji-eun was thinking along similar lines. After reviewing satellite images, she discovered anomalies scattered across various bodies of water worldwide. Whatever these aliens wanted, it involved Earth's oceans, and Haejin, with its proximity to deep waters, appeared to be ground zero. As the clock ticked toward midnight, Commander Taejin received an urgent message from Seoul. Global leaders had convened an emergency summit to discuss next steps. For now, they urged restraint. Attempting to engage the aliens directly could provoke retaliation. Instead, reconnaissance teams would gather intel, while scientists worked tirelessly to decipher their language and intentions. But time was running out. In the darkness, Hyung-soo stepped outside, gazing once more at the alien fleet looming overhead. Somewhere within those ships lay answers. Answers humanity desperately needed. Whether he liked it or not, he knew he'd have to face them soon. The question was whether he'd survive long enough to make a difference. As the world held its breath, waiting for the invaders' next move, one thing became clear. Life, as everyone knew it, would never be the same again. The morning after the arrival brought no relief to the people of Haejin. The alien soldiers remained stationed around the town, their towering forms casting long shadows over the streets. Despite the eerie calm, everyone knew it was only a matter of time before something happened. The air felt heavy, like the calm before a storm. Hyung-soo woke early, unable to shake the image of the glowing portals from his mind. He decided to act on his instincts and headed back to the ocean. As he rowed his small fishing boat out to the spot where he'd noticed the strange hum, he couldn't help but feel uneasy. The water seemed darker today, almost as if it were hiding something beneath its surface. When he reached the area, he dropped anchor and leaned over the side of the boat. Sure enough, the faint glow was still there, pulsing, rhythmically. This time, though, it seemed stronger, more alive. Gathering his courage, Hyung-soo reached into the water. His fingers brushed against something cold and metallic. With effort, he pulled it free, a small, glowing object roughly the size of his palm. It hummed softly in his hand, emitting a soft blue light that flickered like a heartbeat. Back at the observatory, Ji-eun worked tirelessly to decode the signals coming from the alien ships. She had barely slept, her mind racing with possibilities. When she heard about Hyung-soo's discovery through local chatter, she immediately contacted him. "Bring it here," she urged over the phone. This could be important. Reluctantly, Hyung-soo agreed. He wasn't sure what the artifact was or why it mattered, but something told him Ji-eun might have answers. By the time he arrived at the observatory, she was already waiting for him. Her eyes widened as she examined the object, turning it over in her hands. This is incredible," Ji-eun murmured, her voice trembling with excitement. "It's not just a piece of alien tech, it's communicating. Look," she pointed to the faint patterns of light dancing across its surface. "These pulses match the signals we've been detecting. It's like a key, or maybe even a message." Commander Taejin, meanwhile, faced mounting pressure from both his superiors and the frightened civilians of Haejin. Orders came down from Seoul to prepare for potential conflict, but also to avoid provoking the aliens unless absolutely necessary. It was a delicate balance, one that left him feeling powerless. Every decision felt wrong, every action inadequate. That afternoon, global leaders convened via holographic meetings to decide how to handle the situation. Diplomats were chosen to approach the aliens unarmed, hoping to establish peaceful communication. In Haejin, Commander Taejin watched anxiously as a group of diplomats approached the nearest cluster of alien soldiers. They carried white flags, symbols of peace, and spoke loudly in multiple languages. For a moment, it seemed like it might work. The aliens stood motionless, their glowing weapons lowered slightly. But then, without warning, a blinding flash erupted from one of the soldiers' devices. The diplomats collapsed instantly, their bodies disintegrating into ash. Screams echoed through the town as chaos erupted once again. Panic spread like wildfire. Civilians who had stayed behind fled in terror, while others barricaded themselves indoors. Soldiers scrambled to maintain order, but it was clear they were no match for the aliens' advanced technology. Buildings crumbled under energy blasts, and smoke filled the air. In the midst of the destruction, Hyung-soo and Ji-eun huddled inside the observatory, trying to make sense of the artifact. "We need to figure out what this thing does," Ji-eun said urgently. "If it really is a key, maybe it can help us fight back, or at least understand them better." Hyung-soo nodded, though doubt lingered in his expression. "What if it's dangerous? What if using it makes things worse?" Ji-eun hesitated, then shook her head. "We don't have a choice. Sitting here won't save anyone." As they debated, Commander Taejin received new orders. Mobilize troops toward Haejin, where reports suggested increased alien activity. Reinforcements were on the way, but they wouldn't arrive for hours. Until then, it was up to him and his men to hold the line. Night fell, bringing with it an uneasy quiet. The aliens retreated slightly, regrouping near the glowing portals. Fires burned throughout the town, casting eerie shadows on the walls of abandoned buildings. Hyung-soo and Ji-eun ventured outside cautiously, the artifact clutched tightly in her hands. They weren't alone for long. A patrol of alien soldiers spotted them and moved quickly to intercept. Hyung-soo instinctively stepped in front of Ji-eun, shielding her with his body. Just as the aliens raised their weapons, the artifact flared brightly, emitting a high-pitched whine. To their astonishment, the soldiers paused, tilting their heads as if confused. "It's reacting to them," Ji-eun whispered, her voice trembling. "Keep holding it steady." The glow intensified, enveloping the trio in a shimmering blue field. The aliens backed away slowly, then turned and retreated entirely. Hyung-soo and Ji-eun stared at each other in stunned silence, unsure of what had just happened. Commander Taejin witnessed the scene from a distance, his jaw dropping in disbelief. Whatever that artifact was, it clearly held power. Power that could tip the scales in humanity's favor. But at what cost? By dawn, the survivors of Haejin began piecing together what little remained of their lives. The battle may have ended for now, but the war was far from over. Hyung-soo and Ji-eun knew they had stumbled onto something extraordinary, something that could change everything. But as they gazed at the alien fleet hovering ominously above, they couldn't shake the feeling that the worst was yet to come. The artifact sat on the table in Ji-eun's makeshift lab at the observatory, its soft blue glow casting shadows across the walls. Hyung-soo stood nearby, his arms crossed as he watched Ji-eun work. She had been studying the object non-stop since their encounter with the alien soldiers, her eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep. The air was thick with tension, and neither of them spoke much. Commander Taejin arrived just as the sun began to rise, his face lined with exhaustion. He carried a tablet, displaying satellite images of the alien activity around Haejin. "We've got a problem," he said without preamble. "They're focusing more resources here. Whatever they want, it's tied to this town." Hyung-soo frowned. "You think it's connected to that thing?" He gestured toward the artifact. "Butta, butta, 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 butta. It has to be," Ji-eun replied. "This isn't just some random piece of tech. It's reacting to their presence, and they seem to recognize it too. If we can figure out how it works, maybe we can use it against them. Taejin sighed, running a hand through his hair. We don't have much time. Reinforcements are still hours away, and the aliens are getting bolder. We need answers now. Ji-eun nodded, turning her attention back to the artifact. She adjusted her equipment, scanning the object with various sensors. As she worked, Hyung-soo noticed something strange. Whenever he touched the artifact, faint images flickered in his mind, visions of barren landscapes, crumbling cities, and skies choked with ash. It was unsettling, but also oddly familiar, as if the artifact were trying to show him something important. Do you feel that? Hyung-soo asked suddenly, breaking the silence. Ji-eun looked up, startled. Feel what? When I touch it, I see things, like memories or maybe dreams. He hesitated, unsure how to explain. It's like I'm seeing their world. The aliens' world. Ji-eun's eyes widened. That's incredible. Maybe it's not just a tool. Maybe it's a way to communicate. Let me try something. She carefully placed electrodes on Hyung-soo's temples, connecting him to a machine designed to monitor brain activity. Then, she instructed him to hold the artifact again. Almost immediately, the readings spiked, and Ji-eun gasped. It's amplifying your connection to it. You're tapping into their systems somehow. Ji-eun. Before they could process what this meant, another visitor arrived. Dr. Yuna, a linguist who specialized in decoding extraterrestrial languages. Commander Taejin had called her in after hearing about the artifact's potential. She introduced herself quickly, before diving into the data Ji-eun had collected. This is remarkable, Yuna said, examining the artifact closely. The patterns match fragments of the signals we've been intercepting. If we can translate them, we might finally understand why they're here. For hours, the four of them worked together, piecing together clues. Slowly, a picture began to emerge. The aliens weren't conquerors, they were refugees. Their homeworld was dying, ravaged by ecological collapse. They had come to Earth, searching for something buried deep within the planet, something essential to their survival. But activating it would mean destroying all life on Earth. They're desperate, Yuna explained, her voice heavy with dread. If they don't find this relic, their species will go extinct. But if they do, we're finished. Hyung-soo clenched his fists, anger bubbling inside him. So, we're supposed to just let them destroy us? There has to be another way. There might be, Ji-eun interjected. If we can use the artifact to communicate directly with them, maybe we can negotiate. Show them there's another solution. Commander Taejin shook his head. Negotiating won't be easy. Every attempt so far has ended in violence. They don't trust us, and honestly, I don't blame them. As the group debated, Hyung-soo continued to experience visions whenever he touched the artifact. Each one grew clearer, revealing more about the aliens' plight. He saw families huddled together in makeshift shelters, children crying from hunger, skies darkened by endless storms. It was heartbreaking, but also infuriating. Why should humanity pay the price for their mistakes? Determined to push forward, Ji-eun and Yuna focused on translating the artifact's messages. By late afternoon, they made a breakthrough. A fragment of text appeared on the screen, written in halting, imperfect English. Help us. Save us. Hyung-soo stared at the words, his chest tight. They're begging, he muttered. They're not monsters. They're scared. Just like us. Commander Taejin rubbed his temples, conflicted. Even if we wanted to help, how could we? We don't even know what they're looking for, or where it is. We'll figure it out, Ji-eun insisted. But we need more time, and we need to keep the artifact safe. If they realize we have it, they'll come for it. Taejin finished grimly. Which means we need to move. The group quickly packed up their equipment, preparing to leave the observatory. They knew staying put would only make them sitting ducks. As they loaded everything into a van, Hyung-soo couldn't shake the weight of responsibility settling over him. The artifact pulsed gently in his hands, almost as if it understood the burden he carried. Outside, the streets of Haejin lay eerily quiet. Most of the townspeople had fled, leaving behind empty homes and abandoned cars. Smoke still rose from the ruins of buildings destroyed during the earlier attack. The alien soldiers patrolled methodically, their glowing weapons casting an otherworldly light. As the van drove away, Hyung-soo glanced back at the town he had called home. He didn't know if he'd ever return, or if anyone would. All he knew was that the artifact was their only hope. Whether it led to salvation or destruction remained to be seen. For now, though, they moved forward, driven by desperation and determination. The alien's secret was out, and humanity had no choice but to face the truth. Survival wasn't guaranteed, not for them, and not for the invaders. The van carrying Hyung-soo, Ji-eun, Dr. Yuna, and Commander Tae-jin sped along the deserted roads leading out of Haejin. The artifact rested securely in a padded case on Hyung-soo's lap, its faint glow visible even through the thick fabric. None of them spoke much. The weight of their mission pressed heavily on their shoulders. They were running out of time, and they all knew it. As they drove, the alien activity around Haejin grew more intense. Glowing portals opened one after another, spilling out waves of soldiers who moved with mechanical precision. It was clear the aliens were preparing for something big, something final. Hyung-soo gripped the artifact tighter, his knuckles white. Whatever power it held, they would need to use it soon. Their destination was an old military bunker hidden deep in the hills outside town. Commander Tae-jin had chosen it as a safe haven, where they could regroup and plan their next move. Reinforcements from Seoul were still hours away, but Tae-jin knew they couldn't wait that long. If humanity had any chance of surviving, they needed to act now. When they reached the bunker, they set up quickly. Ji-eun and Dr. Yuna worked tirelessly to decode more of the artifact's messages, while Tae-jin coordinated with nearby troops via radio. Hyung-soo, meanwhile, struggled to make sense of the visions flooding his mind whenever he touched the artifact. Each image brought him closer to understanding the aliens' desperation, but also their resolve. "They're planning to strike at dawn," Tae-jin announced grimly after receiving an update from his scouts. "They've surrounded the largest portal near Haejin. That's where they'll activate whatever relic they're searching for." Ji-eun looked up from her laptop, her face pale. "If they do that, it's over. We have to stop them." "But how?" Tae-jin asked, his voice heavy with frustration. "We're outnumbered and outgunned. Even if we manage to disable the portal, they'll just open another one somewhere else." Hyung-soo stepped forward, his expression resolute. "Then we hit them where it hurts their leader. If we can get close enough to communicate directly, maybe we can convince them to stand down." Dr. Yuna nodded slowly. "It's risky, but it might work. The artifact seems to amplify your connection to them. Hyung-soo, if anyone can reach their leader, it's you." Tae-jin hesitated, then sighed. "Fine, but I'm coming with you. We'll take a small team and move under cover of darkness. Once we're inside their perimeter, you'll use the artifact to guide us." The group spent the rest of the night preparing for the mission. Weapons were checked, supplies packed, and plans reviewed until everyone knew their role. By the time they set out, the sky was pitch black, dotted only by the faint glow of alien ships hovering overhead. The journey to the portal site was harrowing. Alien patrols roamed the area, their glowing weapons scanning for intruders. Hyung-soo led the way, clutching the artifact tightly. Its light pulsed softly, guiding them through the shadows. Whenever they encountered enemy soldiers, the artifact flared brighter, confusing the aliens just long enough for the team to slip past unnoticed. Finally, they reached the edge of the portal zone. The massive structure loomed ahead, radiating an eerie energy that made the air hum. Surrounding it were hundreds of alien soldiers, their forms silhouetted against the glowing gateway. In the center stood a towering figure, Their leader, its translucent body shimmered like liquid metal, and its eyes glowed with an unnatural intensity. "This is it," Hyung-soo whispered, his heart pounding. "I'll go alone. You stay here and cover me." "No way," Taejin argued. "You're not doing this by yourself." "He's right," Ji-yoon added. "We stick together. Some of the round. That. Activate." Reluctantly, Hyung-soo agreed. With the artifact held high, he stepped into the open, his companions close behind. As they approached, the alien soldiers turned to face them, weapons raised. For a moment, it seemed like the end, but then, the artifact erupted in a brilliant burst of light, forcing the aliens to shield their eyes. Seizing the opportunity, Hyung-soo ran toward the leader, his mind racing with the visions he'd seen. When he reached the towering figure, he extended the artifact, letting its energy connect with the aliens. Instantly, a flood of images filled his mind. Images of destruction, loss, and hope. He saw the aliens' dying world, their desperate search for salvation, and their belief that Earth held the key to their survival. Through the artifact, Hyung-soo projected his own thoughts, showing the leader glimpses of humanity's struggles, resilience, and determination to survive. He begged for understanding, offering to help find another solution, one that didn't involve sacrificing Earth. For what felt like an eternity, the leader stood motionless, its glowing eyes locked onto Hyung-soo's. Then, slowly, it lowered its weapon. A low hum filled the air as the portal began to dim, its energy fading. The surrounding soldiers backed away, confusion rippling through their ranks. "It worked," Ji-yoon breathed, tears streaming down her face. "You did it," but the victory came at a cost. As the portal collapsed, a surge of energy erupted from the artifact, knocking Hyung-soo off his feet. The others rushed to his side, but he waved them off, groaning as he sat up. "I'm fine," he muttered, though his hands trembled as he clutched the artifact. "Let's get out of here before they change their minds." Retreating under the cover of chaos, the team made their way back to the bunker. Behind them, the alien forces began to withdraw, their ships ascending into the sky. It was far from over, but for now, the immediate threat had passed. Inside the bunker, the group collapsed onto chairs, exhausted but alive. Hyung-soo stared at the artifact, its glow dimmer than before. He didn't know what the future held or whether the aliens would return. All he knew was that humanity had been given a second chance, and this time, they couldn't afford to waste it. The days that followed felt surreal. The alien ships had retreated, disappearing into the sky as suddenly as they had arrived. Haejin lay in ruins, its streets empty, and buildings reduced to rubble. Smoke still lingered in the air, a constant reminder of what had happened. Yet, amidst the destruction, there was a fragile sense of hope. Humanity had survived barely, but it wasn't clear how long that survival would last. Hyung-soo sat on the edge of the bunker's makeshift roof, staring out at the horizon. The artifact rested beside him, its glow now faint, almost dying. He turned it over in his hands, studying its surface. It no longer pulsed with energy or showed signs of reacting to anything. Whatever connection it had forged between him and the aliens seemed to have faded along with their departure. Still, he couldn't shake the memories it had given him, the visions of the aliens' dying world, their desperate struggle for survival. Those images haunted him, lingering like shadows in his mind. Ji-yoon joined him after a while, sitting quietly beside him. She didn't say anything at first, just watched the sun dip below the hills. Finally, she broke the silence. "Do you think they'll come back?" Hyung-soo hesitated before answering. "I don't know. Maybe. They're still out there. Somewhere. And if they can't find another way to save themselves..." He trailed off, unable to finish the thought. "They won't," Ji-yoon said firmly, though her voice wavered slightly. "We'll make sure of it. If we can figure out how to help them without destroying ourselves, we will." Commander Taejin approached them moments later, his face weary but determined. "Reinforcements are here," he said. "They've started evacuating survivors and setting up relief efforts." We've got a lot of work ahead of us. Matter we too, Hyung-soo nodded, standing up. What about the artifact? What do we do with it? Taejin glanced at the object in Hyung-soo's hand. It's dangerous. We can't risk it falling into the wrong hands or being used against us again. For now, it stays with you. But once things settle down, we'll need to decide what to do with it. Hyung-soo clenched his jaw, feeling the weight of responsibility settle over him once more. He didn't want to be the keeper of something so powerful, but he knew Taejin was right. Until they understood it fully, it couldn't be trusted to anyone else. As night fell, the group gathered inside the bunker to discuss their next steps. Dr. Yuna had spent hours analyzing the data they'd collected, piecing together fragments of the aliens' language and intentions. Her findings painted a clearer picture of their plight. The relic buried deep within Earth was tied to an ancient energy source, one capable of rejuvenating entire ecosystems. To the aliens, it represented salvation. To humanity, it meant annihilation. We need to find a way to use this knowledge, Yuna said, pointing to her notes. If we can harness the same energy they're searching for, maybe we can offer them an alternative. Something that doesn't require sacrificing Earth. It's not going to be easy, Ji-eun added. This kind of technology is beyond anything we've ever seen. Even if we manage to replicate it, there's no guarantee it'll work, or that they'll trust us enough to accept it. But we have to try, Hyung-soo interjected. They're not monsters. They're scared, just like us. If we can show them we're willing to help, maybe we can avoid another war. The conversation stretched late into the night, each person contributing ideas and strategies. By the time they finally dispersed, a plan began to take shape. They would share their findings with global leaders, urging them to prioritize research into sustainable solutions not just for humanity, but for any species facing extinction. It was a long shot, but it was all they had. In the weeks that followed, life in Haejin slowly began to rebuild. Survivors returned to the town, sifting through the wreckage of their homes and businesses. Memorials were erected for those who had lost their lives during the invasion, their names etched into stone as a reminder of the cost of survival. Among them were the names of soldiers who had sacrificed everything to protect the town, including several members of Commander Taejin's unit. Hyung-soo stayed behind, helping wherever he could. He found solace in simple tasks, clearing debris, fixing fishing nets, mending fences. The ocean called to him, its vastness offering a sense of peace he desperately needed. Whenever he felt overwhelmed, he would row out to sea, letting the waves carry away his thoughts. Ji-eun continued her work at the observatory, though much of it had been destroyed during the attack. With the help of international scientists, she established a new research facility dedicated to understanding alien technology and finding ways to coexist with extraterrestrial life. The artifact remained central to her studies, though its power continued to fade. Eventually, it stopped glowing altogether, becoming little more than a cold, lifeless object. Still, Ji-eun refused to give up. She believed the answers were there, they just needed time to uncover them. Commander Taejin retired from active duty, choosing instead to focus on rebuilding Haejin. He worked closely with local officials to strengthen the town's defenses, ensuring it would never be caught unprepared again. Though he carried the guilt of lost lives, he also held on to hope, a hope that humanity had learned something valuable from the encounter. War wasn't inevitable, he realized. Sometimes, even the most unlikely enemies could find common ground. Months passed, and the scars of the invasion began to heal. Haejin became a symbol of resilience, its people determined to move forward despite the fear of what might come next. Children played in the streets again, laughter echoing through the air. Fishermen returned to the sea, casting their nets wide. One evening, as Hyung-soo stood on the shore watching the sunset, he felt a strange sensation, a faint hum beneath his feet. At first, he thought it was his imagination. But then he saw it. A shimmer on the water's surface, pulsing softly like a heartbeat. His breath caught in his throat as he stepped closer, reaching out to touch it. But this time, there was nothing. No artifact, no visions, no connection to distant worlds. Just the quiet rhythm of the waves. Hyung-soo smiled faintly, turning back toward the town. Whatever the future held, he knew one thing for certain. Humanity had faced the impossible and survived. And that was enough for now.